ever since battle gimmicks got introduced in Pokemon games that there were exclusive versions of them for specific Pokemon. Mega Evolution itself is exclusive. There are Z moves and Z crystals that are specific to certain species, and there are Gigantamax forms in the middle of the common Dynamax ones. We thought this would be the same for Terastal, and while it kinda is true, only 2 Pokemon got them. Today we talk about why that could be and why the reason might be pretty depressing. So hey, I'm not so a strainer, and what about Terastalized states? Let's get into it. Before we begin, I want to thank my YouTube member Dash Plays and my Twitch subscribers Anubis here, Redsamnegi, Zanes222, Nightshades and Lazarix. Thank you so much for going the extra mile and helping make my content possible. And now, onto the video. When we first saw the introduction of Terastal, we instantly assumed that Pokemon like at least the starters and the cover legendary Pokemon would eventually have access to a special form of this, but we were very wrong. In the end, only 2 Pokemon, Terapagos and Ogerpon, ended up having access to this. These 2 Pokemon have a very obvious connection between them, with Ogerpon's masks being made out of Terra Crystals and Terapagos being the origin of those same Terra Crystals. And that's our first clue, that's where we should begin. You on the other hand should begin by liking and subscribing, of course. So, a Terastalized Terapagos will reach its Terastalized state, its stellar form, and we'll see it change, but not really. Terapagos itself appears to remain largely unchanged, with the Terra Crystals around its body being the ones creating new shapes and glowing with a new rainbow-like aura. In Ogerpon's case, we find the same. Ogerpon herself has her coat changing colors to match the mask it's wearing, something that happens even before reaching a Terastalized state. But then, when she does reach it, only the masks themselves change. They glow brighter, they grow devilish horns, and also become huge, with Ogerpon hiding behind them. So, it seems that the crystals themselves are the ones reacting and transforming, and then giving new abilities and new powers to the Pokemon they are connected to. But now we have a question. Why aren't other crystals doing the same thing? The closest thing we have to such a change is the Stellar type, something that we see for the first time as we go down the Great Crater of Paldea and into the Area Zero Underdepths. These Pokemon are closer to Terapagos, and judging by our surroundings, the crystals have a specific type of power not present in other ones we find outside. In fact, even our Terra Orbs, which contain Terra Crystals, get changed after we adventure in that area. That would mean that Terapagos has the innate power of quote-unquote supercharging the crystals around it. Still, of the Pokemon in the Underdepths, only the turtle can reach that special Terastalized state, the others only reach the Stellar type. So when it comes to Ogerpon, how can she reach something like that or even come close to reaching something like that when she's nowhere near the Area Zero Underdepths or Terapagos? I think the answer lies in the man that came with her to Kitakami. He was the one that brought those crystals to this land, the ones used to both create the masks and likely also to create the crystal pool. We know that Terra Crystals expand, and if a cluster was to fall in the waters, it likely would slowly start to do so. It would also explain the crystal pool cutscene. We have only heard of Terapagos' timeline bending power through the book, and it seemed that it simply happened down there in the crater, close to where Terapagos was. It was likely due to those same supercharged stellar crystals. And we also know that it was happening in Kitakami way before we took our Terapagos there, meaning that those crystals were likely also supercharged. So if the crystal pool crystals are actually connected to the ones that the man brought from Kitakami, the ones used to make the masks, we have to assume that those crystals came from the Area Zero Underdepths. And that would explain why Ogerpon's masks changed but nothing else did. Also, considering how the treasure in Area Zero seemed to lure people in there to the point where bad luck followed, like the attacks the expedition suffered, the financial decline and eventual fall of the Paldean Empire, and even the death of the Professor, it would make sense for something from there to lure the Loyal 3 and Pecharan to try and steal them, resulting in Okidoge's, Monkeydory's, and Fezandipiti's death. But there is still another question. Why did it take so long for Ogerpon to reach this terastalized state? Why was it only when she met us that she was able to do so? I didn't feel like I needed to explain Terapagos, it's the origin of the whole thing, so I'll give it a pass. But Ogerpon needed something more. I knew it had something to do with powerful emotions, since she dealt with the death of her beloved friend and he was connected to the masks. But I couldn't exactly form a reason. Well, enter Odd Cypher, another fellow tinfoil hat enjoyer, and now everything makes sense. Odd stated that he believed everything could be related to isolation. Both Terapagos and Ogerpon were alone. At one point, they felt like they had everything, but then, for a long time, they had nothing. The Pokédex states that Terapagos were likely once a much larger population, but eventually most of them went extinct. Even if there are more around the world, in the crater there is only one. One that has been alone for hundreds or maybe thousands of years. Ogerpon also dealt with a similar thing. Hundreds of years ago, she reached Kitakami with her friend, and despite the rough start, they eventually got accepted by the people there. But one day, the loyal Three and Pecharan took everything from her, leaving her alone and feared for hundreds of years. The only other account from Terapagos reaching its terastalized state is from Heath when he reached the Pokémon, likely being the first to ever do so since he was alone. By forming a bond, the Pokémon reached its terastalized state, and Ogerpon only reaches hers when she forms a bond with us. There are no other accounts of it ever happening before that. The terastalized state of a Pokémon comes not only from the connection in Terapagos' case, or ownership in Ogerpon's case, of supercharged TERA crystals, but also from hitting the emotional rock bottom and being hopeless and alone for a long time, yet having someone eventually reach out to help them climb back up. It is a powerful state that needs both seemingly never-ending sorrow, but also the extreme joy that follows right after. And that is all I have for you today, why Ogerpon and Terapagos are the only ones with a Terra state, with a special thanks to Odd Cypher of course. But what about you? How would you explain it? Let me know in the comments down below. And now, like the video if you like it, dislike if you don't, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more Pokemon content and also ring the bell so you know when the next video is out. Also, you can become a channel member or check out my merch in order to further support the channel. I'd be forever thankful for that. You can follow me on social media or check out one of my streams here and on Twitch. All the links are in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.